you very much for being us today. I would like to ask first, what education, particularly girls' education, meant to you?
I think the girls' education is the foundation stone for a strong and stable society. If a girl is educated, she grows up, she will become a mother, she will educate her children. So this transgenerational motivation will come once girls are educated. One of the greatest problems in Pakistan is that although the government, the civil society, international development organizations, Pakistan's own foundations, trusts, societies, individual citizens, all are making an effort to provide education. But the disparity between the girls and the boys is still very great. And as you know, the overall enrollment ratios in Pakistan, which are still very low, the net enrollment ratio, which is the important ratio to consider, is only about 58% of our population. That means of all the children who are of school going age at primary school level, only 58% actually are in primary school. Now, this is a very low percentage. If you add all those children who are either underage, that means to say below 5 years, and over 9 or 10 years and are still in primary school, then our percentage goes to about 78%. But of these percentages, girls are still very, very small percentage. In Balochistan, for example, in particular, in the remote interior areas of Sindh, certain remote areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, southern Punjab, the enrollment of girls is very poor. So in certain cases you see the numbers and the statistics. It's very alarming that only 10% of the girls in certain remote parts of Pakistan of the school going age, only 10 or 12% of girls, this is the worst case scenario, are going to school. So this is a matter of great concern for everyone who works in the education sector and for society as a whole. So I have always felt, I've spent about 35 years in the education sector, working both in government, through the political process, in the private sector. We also have, my mother established an education trust in 1949. So I have been connected with education ever since I can remember. And my effort has always been to focus on girls' literacy, girls' enrollment in primary schools, finding ways and means and resources to ensure that girls go from primary school to secondary school. Because now you cannot just say that primary school education is enough. You have to have, a child should be educated at least up to class 10. That is the minimum level of education that we need to give to every child, and that the Constitution now, under the 18th Amendment, Article 25A, makes it mandatory upon the state of Pakistan to provide free and compulsory education to all boys and girls, all children between the ages of 5 and 16.
We will discuss on it in detail later on. Tell us, why should a government invest in education, especially in girls' education?
I think there can be no better investment. It is a better investment than investing in buildings, in roads, in flyovers, underpasses, shopping plazas, office buildings, anything that you can think of. There is no question in my mind. There are 2 or 3 things that a government must invest in. It must invest in education, especially girls' education, because the girls' education changes the life of the family. It makes her decide how many children, how large a family she wants. An educated girl will marry an educated man. So it, you know, in many parts of Pakistan, this is very interesting, that where schools have opened up and girls have started going to colleges also, schools and colleges. Some of the men are finding it difficult to marry girls because sometimes the girls are a little bit more educated than the young man. So the girl's health will improve. If her health improves and her education is provided, she is a better mother, she, with better health, has a smaller family, she can plan her family. Once the family is a planned family, all the aspects of family life improve. If a family can improve, society can improve. Society can improve, Pakistan improves. So it really comes down to the girl child more than to any other part of the population.
You have been working for a long time in this education field, as you mentioned. What are the hindering factors that really hinder girls' education in Pakistan?
You know, this is a very important and a very good question. That while we say we all believe in girls' education, and I don't think anybody can argue against it except those who want to live in the dark ages and who want to live, 5,000 years ago. Then the question is, if we all want girls' education, the political leadership says it, the government's leadership, as bureaucrats say it, everybody says it, society says it, young and old, everyone. So what is the problem? The problem lies not only with the fact that why are the girls not receiving adequate education. I think the problem is larger than that. The problem lies in the fact that our population is a very, very large population. Our resources are limited. Today you have about 175 million people in this country. Of that 175 million people, 70 million of this population is below the age of about 20. The school-going age population is 45 million. Now, to provide the resources for boys and girls both to go to school, the government does not have adequate resources. So the allocation is one of the reasons why there are not enough schools. The schools are built far away from the villages. Often the teachers are not there. The school building is in a bad condition. Often the teaching materials and textbooks are not there. I'm not saying that this is the case everywhere. In many parts of the country, the provinces have made very, very good progress and made good effort, but it is not enough. For Pakistan, we are still not making a sufficient effort. So part of the problem is that we don't allocate enough resources. The other part of the problem is that what we do allocate in resources, what we do give to our budget, which is only 1.8% or maximum about 2%, that is not very well spent. Sometimes it is wasted, sometimes it is used up in wrong type of expenditure. Sometimes you find that the budgets are not even released, the funding is not even released, so the district governments have not even received the funding. So the process of ensuring that we take our percentage of GDP allocation from 2% to 4%. This is a minimum. Everywhere in the world, this is Pakistan's commitment as well. UNESCO says, actually they say more, they say 4.5%. And in our region, in the SAARC countries, Pakistan is amongst the lowest, unfortunately, in terms of the allocation for it. The other part of the problem is the management, and I am a great believer in the management being a bigger problem than the allocation of resources, because it is how you manage the system, the public sector system for delivery, how you select your teachers, recruit your teachers, how you train them, how you staff them, the salaries you give them, the supervision you give, the monitoring that you do, the facilities that you give inside the schools. So the management of the school system, the fact that your buildings should be properly constructed, they should be safe, they should be secure, they should be attractive, there should be proper furniture, tables and chairs and blackboards and materials for teaching and learning. So management is a very big issue, and we have still not been able to, on a large scale, bring about management reform in Pakistan.
But then there is a perception that in the Western countries that the girls' education, they look that the hindrance is the religion, and then some of them they say the culture. But you are telling a very different story. Please tell us.
Well, I thought you would ask that question. I will tell you why I did not come to culture and religion first. Because all my experience and a lot of documented experience shows that anywhere that you go in Pakistan, from the big cities of Karachi and Lahore and Faisalabad and Peshawar to the remotest corners of Pakistan. You can go to a mountain top in Balochistan. You can go into the desert of Tharparkar in Sindh. You can go into parts of any place in D.I. Khan or Karak in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. You can go to Gilgit-Baltistan. Anywhere you go, you ask a community if they want education for their children, and they will all say, yes, we want education. Now, so I don't think that these negative attitudes are widely pervasive. The majority of people in this country, with our culture, our language, our religion, our traditions, our social views, we all want educated children, both boys and girls. Yes, there is a small segment of our society that forces a certain type of cultural view, because Islam is not anti-education. Islam is not anti-education of girls. It is, in fact, at that time more than anything else, our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and our Quran Sharif says, go and seek education and go and seek knowledge, even if you have to go to China. So Pakistan, Islam and Pakistan as a Muslim country, I don't think that religion is a hindrance. It is the narrow interpretation of religion by a certain segment of Pakistan's society, certain small segment, that sometimes also dominate the social structures. So you can say that in parts of Balochistan, in certain parts of the country, maybe because of the Sardari system, I would say yes, because of the Sardari system, they don't want the girl educated, but they don't want the boy educated also, you know. So I think that the cultural practices and norms are being, they are not so negative, and they are being altered and changed by the mindset of the people. Media has made a huge impact. Inroads have made a huge impact. Infrastructure, people are more mobile, they travel everywhere. But the aspiration is still very strong for education. And I think families will send their girls, except for very, very religious and conservative families, and you ask them what they want to do. They will not say that we don't want to educate our girls. They will say we want to even educate our girls, but give them religious education.